Hey, it's Ethan with ComTech. So today I wanted to do a recap of a conference that I just went to. It was a Microsoft conference down in Orlando. I sat there for 3+ days sitting in a conference room trying to figure out where is Microsoft headed, what is coming up. So I wanted to do a recap of that. So here is the quick agenda. Now this is going to be a brief overview of that conference. I'm not going to go day by day, but they covered things like Microsoft Copilot, Windows 10 going away, and Windows 11 coming out. It's been out for a while, but it's going to become more mainstream very soon. And then finally, I wanted to talk briefly about AI-ready machines and what that looks like. So let's talk about Microsoft Copilot. If you haven't heard of it, it is Microsoft's AI. So think of ChatGPT, just think Microsoft instead. Now, the big difference, there's multiple differences, but one of the big differences is Copilot is integrated into Microsoft Windows as well as into Microsoft Office. So think of when you open your Outlook or when you open Excel, if you had a little AI option there where you could choose the AI option and say, hey, take this data and make a graph out of it or whatever it may be. It's a little bit different than just simply asking ChatGPT a question. So Copilot's going to be a little bit different. I definitely think it's going to be larger than most people think. The way that Microsoft's doing it, Microsoft definitely thinks it's going to be very large because they are integrating it pretty much into almost everything, as you'll see here in a moment. Now, one of the other things that makes this different is Copilot from Microsoft does not use your data that you enter into the system. Doesn't use that data to train their models. Unlike ChatGPT, where when you put something in, they're using that data, Microsoft's a little bit different. So one of the other things that I want to highlight here is data permissions are absolutely crucial when you turn on Microsoft Copilot. So let me give you a great example. If you just turn it on, which by the way, there is a cost, it isn't free. I'm not going to go super deep on this video here about this, but when you turn it on, if you have access to that data inside of your Microsoft tenant, you would be able to search it. So a great example is if you accidentally had access to the HR folder or the accounting folder and you're not supposed to, if you have your organization, if they turn Copilot on, you could literally type in what is the salary of the CEO. And if you have access to that data, you're going to get that back. So we want to be very, very careful with just kind of unleashing AI on everyone. So I mentioned that, just be aware, pay attention, go slow with this. And we'll help you out. I'll do some deeper dive videos into how we're going to roll this out and what we see it being useful for. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, which Microsoft spent a good bit of time on, was it's hard to believe that Windows 10 is now end of life as of 2025, or it will be. It's not as I'm recording this video, but in October of 2025, it is highly recommended for Microsoft for all of your Windows 10 devices to be either upgraded to Windows 11 or replace your machine with a Windows 11 machine. Because Microsoft, what end of life means, it means Microsoft will stop releasing updates for Windows 10. So you need to be thinking about that. I mention this because as of right now, at least as of last week when I went to this seminar, it was 40 million devices here in the US that cannot update to Windows 11. The main reason why they can't update, some can upgrade from Windows 10 to Windows 11. The main reason is hardware. So we'll talk about hardware in just a moment. But Windows 11 has as you'll see, the next point here, Windows 11 has a number of pieces in there that are security related that you can't turn on unless you have a certain hardware, there's a hardware requirement. So some of the older machines, especially during COVID, the machines that were bought during COVID, everybody was just going to Best Buy or wherever and grabbing any machine they could so they could go home and work. A lot of those machines did not have the necessary hardware that was needed. So we're going to need to replace those. Now, I'll do a deeper dive into the differences between Windows 10 and Windows 11 at a different time, but I will put in here that it definitely has multiple security features that have been added that should help protect from some of the latest threats. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is what you are probably going to hear, AI-ready machines. Now, when I first heard that, I went, can I just open up a web browser and go to ChatGPT, something like that? Why do I have to have a hardware or a machine that's specific for AI? Well, what they have done is they have come out with, I'm going to give some generalities here, so don't worry about the specifics necessarily, but they have created a new piece of hardware called a neural processing unit, an NPU. They're putting them into the machines. Long story short, it just means it's a little piece of hardware that is specifically designed to process AI commands and run AI better. It makes it so the rest of your machine doesn't have to do as much work. So a good example of this is eventually you will have the ability to go in and say, hey, no matter if I'm using Microsoft Teams or if I'm using Zoom or if I'm using anything, I want you to blur my background all the time so I can switch between the different applications. That is something that the NPU is going to do much better than your typical machine. Now, the other thing that Microsoft is changing, or they're trying to push, they're certainly going to do it with all of their Microsoft Surface products, but they're going to probably try to push it through the whole industry, is they're going to have a Copilot button on the keyboard. So this is the first change to the keyboard in 20 years. So that's goes to show you how big Microsoft thinks this new AI and Copilot is going to be. But it's going to have one button where you press it and it pulls up your AI chatbot essentially, and you can type things. And then the final thing, which is unfortunate at this point, is as of right now, when I looked at the prices right before I recorded this video, AI machines are somewhere between 30 to 50% higher on the price than non-AI ready machines. So just be aware of that. As of right now, you're going to have to pay a little extra if you want those AI features to have an AI ready machine. You don't have to. Again, communicate with us. We'll talk with you. We'll give you all your options. So I know I covered a decent amount. I tried to shrink 3.5+ days down to 10 minutes or less. But we talked about Copilot and Windows 10 going away. And then when you hear the words AI ready machine, now you know a little bit about what it is and potentially what the cost is. So the final thing that I want to leave you here with is we are still having our one-day event. If you're watching this before September 20th, 2024, we're having our one-day event where we're going to go deep into a lot more of this stuff. I'm sure everything that I've talked about with the AI-ready machines and Copilot especially, we're going to go deep into that. I know we are, but come check out this link. We'll have the information in the description below. And with that, thank you for watching.